Listen up, folks. Prepare to be blown away by my jaw-dropping story. I'm just a regular 17-year-old, right? Well, brace yourselves because life took an unexpected turn. Fresh off my high school graduation, I'm proud to announce that I've been a straight-A student since forever. Hold on to your seats because here's the real shocker. For almost 2 years now, I've been sharing a roof with none other than my 37-year-old single mom. Oh, and did I mention that she's the genius head chef at our city's finest Italian eatery? Unbelievable, right? When I was just 10, my parents split up and went their separate ways. They used to share custody of me, but then my dad got diagnosed with brain cancer. He used to run his family's trucking business, but he had to give it all up when he got sick. Before, I used to switch homes every week, but now I'm stuck living with my mom all the time because of my dad's terrible condition. Despite visiting my dad frequently, I couldn't help but feel a constant longing to live with him again. The truth is, I've always been much more attached to my dad than my mom, who has always been extremely uptight, making it impossible for us to connect. Our relationship was constantly filled with conflict, first between my mom and dad, and after their divorce, it shifted to me. She had her good moments too, though, so I didn't mind staying with her. And after my dad's diagnosis, I had no choice but to stay with her. So I made my peace with it. My mother and I, in the recent past, have not been on good terms, mostly because of her relationship with her new husband and how he treats me. My mother got married for a second time just 8 months ago to Mark 32 male. She'd been dating Mark for a little over 1 year, and I only found out about it when he proposed because she'd kept their relationship well under wraps. It was the significant age gap between the two, and my dad had just been diagnosed at the time, which also didn't help, so she just kept it a secret. It was only after he popped the question that she revealed their relationship. I was forced to accept it, despite my deep dislike and mistrust towards Mark. He always seemed fake and insincere, even when he pretended to be kind. Something was just not right about him, if you catch my drift. Of course, I couldn't tell my mother that, because then she'd think I was trying to discourage her from getting married on purpose or some other ridiculous thing I put up with Mark. But I didn't allow him to be my friend, and I realized I was right about him. Just 3 months after the wedding, he'd moved in with us after the wedding, and since he was a high school football coach, he'd be home a lot earlier than my mother. We'd end up spending a lot of time at home by ourselves before my mother came home, and surprisingly, he never tried to even speak to me when we were on our own. But as soon as my mother would be home, he'd turn on the charm and try to act like we were best buddies. Anyone in their right mind would be able to see right through his little act. And to my horror, I realized I wasn't alone. I decided to grab a bite from the kitchen when suddenly I heard a bone-chilling sound coming from my mother's room. It sent shivers down my spine, knowing that only my family knew about the hidden safe she kept beneath her bed, which she guarded with her life. I always kept the spare keys close by, but I had never given them to Mark. So I realized that he must have stolen my mom's set to lock her, contained all of my mother's wedding jewelry back from when she got married to my dad, and a lot of other really expensive jewelry too. She also kept some spare bundles of cash stashed away in the locker for emergencies. She didn't trust bank lockers and preferred to keep these valuables close to herself, because she felt it was considerably safer. It was a whole thing. I watched Mark take out an entire bundle of cash and put it in his pocket. I was too shocked to even move and stayed rooted to my spot. So when Mark turned around, he spotted me standing right outside the bedroom. He looked irritated for a second, and then gave me a big smile, walked towards me, and then put his arm around my shoulder while walking me to the living room couch there. He claimed that my mother urgently requested him to fetch a load of money for an emergency situation, and he was on his way to deliver it. He insisted that this was completely ordinary, and it wasn't necessary for me to discuss it with my mother. Determined, I planned to confront my mother about it as soon as she returned home that day. But as soon as I started the conversation, she told me she didn't want to hear it. I just sat her down in private and told her that I had something to talk to her about with regards to Mark. And as soon as I said that, she shot me down instantly. She told me that she'd seen this coming and knew this was going to happen at some point or the other. My mom thought I was going to tell her the same old Mark is not the right guy for you. And for some reason she believed that I was going to try and ask her to patch things up between her and my dad. I don't know why she assumed that, because I'd never made it seem like I thought she and my dad were good together or whatever. I was so relieved when they finally split because it was way better than them staying together and torturing me with their constant fights every single day. I tried to talk to her about it, but she totally freaked out and threatened to punish me if I dared speak a single bad word about Mark. That pissed me off. So I decided that she could suffer for all I care, since she was clearly too taken by Mark's surface-level attractiveness to notice what a loser he was. If she wanted to believe a lie and stay delusional, then I wasn't going to stop her, especially after she'd insulted me like that. I didn't bring up the incident with Mark after that and waited for my mother to catch on herself, which she unfortunately never did. Months passed like this, and I grew more and more distant from my mother because she was obsessed with her husband. And it was just gross, simply because it was Mark of all people. Then about a week ago, my mother decided to sit me down and talk to me about something very important. It was the weekend, and Mark was out with his friends, so it was just my mother and I. My first thought was that there was bad news about my dad, but she told me that wasn't it, and started to beat around the bush about irrelevant things. I didn't know what she was trying to get at, and so after some time I got fed up with her and told her to cut to the chase already. She suddenly exclaimed that she wanted me gone from the house immediately because Mark, her husband, told her that he felt uncomfortable around me, and that I made him feel safe and unwanted. I knew my mother really liked Mark, but I never expected this. It made no sense for her to kick me out just because her insecure husband felt uneasy about nothing. I knew that Mark was afraid of me telling my mother about the locker incident, and also